we're going to start talking about the willow here, but before we do, we're going to talk about a couple other things. First of all, I've got a mullein stalk right here with the flowers up. Excellent medicinal on every level. The roots are often dug up and used for rheumatism. The leaves can be steamed. You take them, dry them, and then you can put them into like a steam and breathe them into. You pour steaming water over them and put a towel over your head and kind of let your face be in the steam, and it helps open up your lungs. That's what it's very much known for, is to take down swelling. So breathing in the steam from the leaves can help open up your lungs. They used to do it with smoke, but we find that steam works better. And of course the flowers, which is its most famous medicine, is put into oil and can be put into your ears to open up your ear canals during an ear infection, which allows air to get in there and start healing up the ear. It also has slight antimicrobials, so it can help start killing off any germs or anything that is in your ear, any bacteria. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about before we start talking about the willow. And the other thing I want to start talking about is this big old oak tree. If you can see, and maybe you guys can't see, but it has kind of a frosted look to it. The leaves are flipped over so that oaks have a dark green top and a light green underside. And the reason for that is because the dark green tops help, it has a waxy coating to it so that moisture does not evaporate so easy. But then it has a light underside which allows evaporation and breathing that leaves need to do. And when the wind comes from the opposite direction of normal, which means storm winds, the leaves get blown so they flip over. And my grandmother used to say that that was the oak trees are really talking. And when you start seeing the leaves flipping over on the oak trees, that usually means we have a storm coming. And if you can kind of look behind the oak tree, you can see this big cloud here. And those are storm clouds. They are coming. They're just exploding here in the heat of the afternoon. So we are getting them in. So listening to the oak trees, watching for those leaves to flip upside the other way so that you can see the light color more than the dark. That's the oak tree warning you that storms are coming. So something to watch out for. Now let's go talk about the willow, which is the main reason that we're out here. Willow trees are... willow is actually a family name as opposed to like there is an actual willow tree or a willow bush. There's many different kinds of willows. There's weeping willows, which is the one that most people who live in an urban setting know. Weeping willows are used to add a softened texture to landscape. For landscapers will use it that way. Then there's the white willow, black willow. There's many different willows. Willows grow all over in many different parts of the world. And they're used in many different ways. First of all, well, we'll go on in and let me grab my bucket here. I'm going to go in over here where they're a little closer to my trail. But their branches are very... Let me get past the thistle here. Their branches are very, as you can see, they're kind of supple. They bend very easy. There's many different legends and stories built around the willow trees, but anyway, they're easy to take the branches while they're fresh and weave them, and as they dry they get a hardness to them. And so what we use them for a lot of times is we'll weave like lawn furniture out of them, or little furniture that you can use for campsites. Willow also has a compound in, well, the whole plant, but really it's concentrated more in the inner bark that is like aspirin, and it's actually the forerunner to aspirin. That's another thing. So it's used medicinally for that. It helps take down swelling, helps reduce pain. You don't use it for children, just like you don't use aspirin for children. But then there is another thing that willow has, and willow breeds, like many plants, it breeds both sexually with male and female blending together to create seeds, and asexually. And asexually, how it'll breed is sometimes it'll just send out a root, and the root will come up, and wherever the root comes up, it grows another tree. But willows have another unique way of breeding, and that's because willows tend to like to have their feet wet. Sometimes their roots are very shallow, and so sometimes those roots get knocked, or the tree gets knocked over. And the branch will bend over, and the tips of the branch will touch the ground. And then where it's touching the ground, those branches will take root. They'll actually grow roots. And then back towards where the plant is, or the more hardened branches attached to the plant, that'll rot, break, and it'll all of a sudden just pop right up like a little flag, and it'll be an entirely new plant, entirely new tree. This is called cloning. And how it does this is the willows have a compound in them, a hormone, that actually helps them root. And this is, like I said, a way of survival for the willow. If it floods further back into, because closer to that way is the water. Willows like to have their feet wet. If it floods further back, that could kill the willows that are out there. But then these willows that are on this side will bend over, clone themselves, and it can continue on without too much loss of life. But again, we do this through these hormones, and these hormones we can use too. And what we use them for is for rooting other plants. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to collect some willow. Now the best way to collect, well, first of all, to see willow is a lot of times you'll see it in clumps like this. You can see over here, here's a big clump of willow. This is a rather large clump of willow. Willow is, again, very wispy. Willow the wisp, it's an often used term. The branches bend quite easily without breaking. And as you can see, the leaves are alternate and tend to be very thin. And they love to have their feet wet. So new growth on the willow will have a lighter green color to it. Let me get that out of my shadow there. We have a lighter green color to it, and that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to snip off. I brought a bunch of clippers. You can take the old growth off. If you take the old growth off, you're either going to want to smash it or take the clippers and clip them into pretty small pieces. And we're just going to collect some of this, put it into a bucket, and pour some water over it. It's really that simple. We're basically making a willow tea that we will then later use as we get that hormone out of the plant. It does take about a week, and then we can use it to help root other plants. And the reason I'm doing this is because a friend of mine just bought a farm last year, and she has a beautiful pear tree that is putting out pears, and I would like to have some of it. It is, you can see it's not a grafted pear tree. It's an older pear, but it's not a Bartlett, because I have Bartlett pears, and it's not a Bartlett. So I like to have some of this tree, and so I'm going to get a few cuttings of it, see if I can get a couple trees started from it, and I need some rooting compound to do that with, so we're going to use the willow for that. And snip off some of these green ends to the branch, and we're going to get a bucket full of them, or at least a good bunch of them, enough so that I can feel like I can root my trees. And I'll show you that in a minute. So I got a little over half a bucket in here, which is a little more than what I was planning on getting. I was planning on getting about half a bucket. I do have some, oops, get my camera strap out of there. I do have some of the brown parts of the willow. I have some green, and then I have a lot of the leaves. And now we're just going to take this back home and put some water in it and leave it set in a sunny place. We are not trying to extract vitamins and minerals out of this, so you don't need to worry about the sun destroying everything. This will work fine. If you have chlorinated water, I would definitely not use chlorinated water or fluoride water. Those are both poisons. But you know, if you got just regular well water, or you can save some rainwater, use that. Rainwater would probably be your best bet. And we let it set for about a week. And then, oh, I got a red-winged blackbird that's not happy with me, so she must have a nest around here somewhere. Anyway, you let it set for about a week, and then you can do your cuttings, and you just put them in here, let them soak for a little bit, let them start soaking up like you do with flowers. You put it into, you put the flowers in with a nice crisp cut, and let it start soaking up the water. And then after it's soaked it up for a little bit, you don't want to let it set too long, but after it starts soaking it up a little bit, you take it with another kind of sieve, you put a hole into some good dirt, good composted dirt. And
I got my shadow. Here's my shadow. Okay, get my shadow over here. So we've got our willow sitting here, and we've, like you can see now that I've got the water in there. You can see I've got all different kinds. I've got some of the red and the brownish red. I've got the yellow or the light green, the new growth. I got leaves. I've got even some of the flowers in there. And I'm going to let this set out. I've got Bodie here who wants to eat and drink out of it already. I'm going to let this set out. I'm probably going to put it a little bit more in the shade in a little bit. I'm just going to let it sit here right now because it's really, this is in the sun, and it'll start brewing it a little faster. Now I want this to be tea. I'm not looking to make willow wine or anything. If it starts fermenting, I'm immediately taking the willow out. So I don't, if it was really hot out here and planning on staying as hot as it's been, I would probably put this in the shade right away and just let it brew quietly in the shade. But because it's cooling off, I'm going to leave it out here overnight, and then I'll probably put it in the shade tomorrow. Maybe it's so windy you can't even hear me over the wind, I don't know. And then when it gets, the water's going to start changing color, and when it does, you know, it's going to get that tea look, because that's basically what we're doing. We're doing a cold infusion here. So when the water starts getting that tea look to it, that's when I'll be ready. I'm thinking 4 or 5 days, maybe a week, and we'll be going over and taking a few snips, careful snips off of the, and then I'll just take the willow out. Again, mainly because I don't want it to ferment. That's not what I'm going for. I'm going for tea, not for wine. And willow wine would be really, really gross. So I'm going for the tea more than the wine. And anyway, so I'm thinking about 3-4 days to a week, and then I'll go and take very careful, I'll take the water right with me, take very careful snips, little cuts, very nice clean cuts off the pear tree, and get it in here and starting to root. Now clone plants are never as strong as plants that are started by seeds. So you got to be a little careful about it. Make sure you protect those plants until they get to a strength that is where they can handle themselves. That's why these will be planted. I have some old pots that are breaking up and everything, old plastic pots that somebody gave me that have holes in them and everything like that. And I'm going to put them in there and put them in a protected area until they get nice and strong. And then we'll plant them and put fences around them again for a couple years just to keep them protected until they are strong enough to go on their own. And that way, if I need to break the plastic pots off from around them, that'll be nice and easy. But anyway, that is it. I mean, it's really that simple. How to make homemade rooting compound. Just willow. Willow has a hormone. It's its way to keep willow surviving. But that doesn't mean willow isn't willing to share, because this little bit that I've taken off, this half of a 5-gallon bucket that I've taken off those willow trees, will be replaced in about a month and a half. I mean, you won't even be able to tell, because first of all, I snipped them off. I didn't go in one area and take them all from one area. I kind of went through the whole thing and took little pieces here and there. And they'll be replacing themselves quite quickly, because willow grows quite quickly in bright sunlight. So, willow rooting compound.